רדיו קסם 106 FM. פעמיים קפה, תוכניתה של רוני שוורץ עמילוב. קולנוע, תרבות, אקטואליה. הקפה עלינו, לא תגיעו?
שלום לכם, מאזינות ומאזינים, מה שלומכם? אנחנו כבר לקראת ראש השנה, הולכת להיות תוכנית מיוחדה.
When I couldn't see you for the wall, what was that you said? What was that you said before you called? And when I couldn't catch you for the fall, what was that you said? What was that you said? Nothing hurts this much, but I've seen the way that bodies lie and bodies tend to break. I've been away too long to be afraid. But you know, what you know is better, is brighter. And you know, what you know is better, is brighter. And this is where we were when I showed you the dark inside of me, in spite of me, on a bench in the park. You said to me, this is not you, this is not you, this is not you, this is not you. But I've seen the way that the bodies lock and bodies tend to break. And I've been away too long, and I don't know a better place. But you know, what you know is better, is brighter. And you know, what you know is better, is brighter. And this is where we were when I showed you the dark inside of me,
טאוז. כן, בתוכנית הזאת אני סוקרת את פסטיבל הקולנוע ירושלים, שהתחלתי ועשיתי לו פרומו בשידור הקודם שלי, ובתוכנית הזאת אני אתן המלצות וביקורת לסרטים שהספקתי לצפות בהם, וחוויתי אותם. חגיגה אמיתית, מה עוד הולך להיות בשידור הזה? המלצות של הסרטים שהולכים לעלות השבוע בקולנוע. אנחנו כבר יוצאים לדרך. אז סרט הפתיחה באמת, איפה אנה פרנק, היה בבריכת הסולטן בירושלים, וזה היה פשוט אירוע מרתק ומרגש. אתמול היה ערב שהוקדש לצבי שיסל. בקהל ישבו בני משפחתו, מיקי גבריאלוב, שפתח את הערב, והשמיע את שיר הפתיחה, ואנחנו צפינו בסרט המרגש הזה. לי זה הרגיש כביכול זה פעם ראשונה שצפיתי בסרט, וזו הייתה התרגשות גדולה מאוד. יש לציין שעיניים גדולות הוא החלק השני בטרילוגיה התל אביבית של אורי זוהר, בגילומו כמובן, יש שם כל מה שרק אנחנו רוצים. אורי הוא מאמן כדורסל, הוא נשוי באהבה לאליה. אני רוצה להשמיע את השיר של מיקי שעלה לבמה ורגש את כולנו, אריק איינשטיין ומיקי גבריאלוב, עיניים גדולות.
היה לו כל מה שאפשר לרצות, והוא רצה יותר. היה לו בית חם, אישה טובה וילדים בריאים. היה לו כל מה שאפשר לרצות, והוא רצה יותר. בני פורמן, שתית כל עצוב מתוך הפרח, שתית כל עצוב יבש הפרח. בני פורמן, זה נכון אתה בסדר, ממלא את החובות, מביא הלחם, מוריד את הפח, באמת כל הכבוד. אתה מוציא האישה, נותן לה כבוד, נושא בעוד, רק אל תשכח דבר קטן אחד, שזה עוד לא הכל. בני פורמן, שתית כל עצוב מתוך הפרח, שתית כל עצוב יבש הפרח. בני פורמן, לאן אתה רץ? מה בוער לך? עזוב את השטויות, לך תנוע, אל תסכן את מה שיש, ויש לך הרבה. בני פורמן, אנשים חיים ביחד, אי אפשר לבד, אי אפשר לתת רק אצבע ולקחת כל היד. אנשים רואים, אנשים יודעים, זה לא נעים. אתה חושב על עצמך, אבל ישנם גם אחרים. לאן אתה רץ? מה בוער לך? עזוב את השטויות, לך תנוע, אל תסכן את מה שיש, ויש לך הרבה בניפורמה. וכאילו זה בסדר, העתיד נראה ורוד. מרחת פה, קייחת שם, שיחקת טוב מאוד. הצרה איתך, כן, שיש לך, כן, עיניים גדולות. רוצה הרבה, תמיד הכי הרבה, רק עוד ועוד ועוד, בניפורמה. שתית הכל עצוב מתוך הפרח, שתית הכל עצוב יבש הפרח. בניפורמה, סיפור על בניפורמה שתמיד הלך לו קלף. היה לו כל מה שאפשר לרצות, והוא רצה יותר.
כן, כפי שאמרתי, מיקי אתמול עלה על הבמה והקדיש את השיר הזה, אתם יודעים, גם למשפחת שיסל וגם לאורחים שהיו שם, ובכלל כל כך היה נחמד להיזכר בנוסטלגיה. אירוע נוסף היה מפגש צילום כמחולל הסצנה, שבה התארחו צלמים מאוד בכירים מהתעשייה, ודיברו שם על איך לבחור סצנות, איך לעבוד עם סצנות כאלה ואחרות, איך לבחור לוקיישנים. ובנימין פרינדנברג אירח שם וראיין את טוליק גלאון ועוד צלמים מוכשרים מהתעשייה, וזה היה פשוט מרתק.
خدا رو شکر تا حالا زیر پای هیچ بیگناهی رو نکشیدم.
نمیفهمی این الان تو چه وضعیتیه؟
بس قصد نیست که آخه، بس حواس پرتی توه، سر به هوایی.
خیلی خوب گفتم دیگه. اعصابم به اندازه کافی خورد کرد.
این کارت منو یاد بابام میندازه. اونم هر موقع یه چیزی رو نمیخواد بگه، به جای اینکه راحت بگه نمیگم، میگه بذار یه موقع دیگه میگم.
من فقط نمیخواستم کسی رو بکشم.
شما چطوری با هم آشنا شدین؟
دلم برات تنگ شد.
قدرت تو نگفتنته.
כן, אתם מקשיבים לטריילר של הסרט אין רשע בעולם. 4 סיפורים שונים, אך קשורים זה בזה, ומסרטטים עולם עתיר ניגודים, כפי שבו בני אדם מנסים בעצם למצוא את החירות שלהם. יצירה קולנועית מפעימה ששווה ללכת לצפות בה. אוקיי, אז אנחנו עוברים לסרט הבא.
An eminent romantic teacher from Little Paris. In a single moment, her whole life is turned upside down. Will she be able to face the angry mob of parents, teachers, drivers, officers, aviators, priests, corporate people, silver foxes, and more? The critics have spoken.
כן, הסרט הזה נקרא מין חסר מזל או פורנו משוגעים. זה סרטו החדש של רדוד ג'ודה. עוקב אחרי אמי, שהיא מורה בבית ספר שהתדמית שלה בעצם המקצועית סופגת מהלומה מאוד מאוד קשה ואנושה, לאחר שהסריטו אותה באמצע אקט מיני עם בעלה. האקט הזה יצא החוצה, דלף החוצה לאינטרנט, היא נאלצת לתת דין וחשבון ולעמוד לסוג של משפט בפני הורי התלמידים ולעבור שימוע המוני, אך היא מסרבת להיכנע. אחד הדברים שאנחנו אומרים, אוקיי, עד איפה הגבול? עד איפה מותר לנו ומה מותר לנו, ואם היא מורה אז מה מותר לה? סרט רומני שווה ללכת לצפות. טוב, אז הסרט הבא שאני רוצה לדבר עליו הוא סרטה של קורסיני, שהוא נקרא השבר. צפיתי בו אתמול, סרט מאוד משעשע, מלא אנושיות, והוא עוקב אחרי כל מה שנעשה בחדר המיון פריזאי, אבל מה שקורה שם זה פשוט טירוף אחד גדול. יש שם שילוב של הומור, של קצב, של עריכה מצוינת. יש שם התייחסות גם לנושא של האפודים הצהובים, כל המאבק הזה שבאמת בשנים האחרונות ליווה את פריז, הדילמות המאוד קשות שעולות, במי לטפל, תיעדוף, כן, אין כוח אדם, אין צוות, לטפל בחולים ועל מחדלים שיכולים לקרות במצבים האלה ועוד ועוד ועוד. סרטה של ז'וליה דוקורנו, טיטן, במסגרת התחרות הבינלאומי, הוא הפך בעצם לשיחת היום בפסטיבל קאנון. הסרט הזה עוקב אחר רוצחת סדרתי, והיא מעמידה פנים שהיא בנו העובד של קבאי בודד, שבעצם מוצא נחמה בעקבות מות בנו בבן החדש שהוא מוצא, סוג של היא חושבת שהוא לא יודע שהוא בן, והוא משחק את המשחק, הוא משתף את הפעולה ביחד. יש כאן לא מעט סצנות אלימות ביותר. הקהל באולם הגיב לסצנות מסוימות בצחוק, בהומור. אני לא כל כך התלהבתי מהעניין הזה, למען האמת, אבל חיפשתי את הקאץ'. סרט מאוד מאתגר.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her.
אז כן, בעצם היא לא כל כך רעה כמו שהיא מצטיירת, למרות שיש כאן הרבה סצנות של אלימות ורשע שמוגדר. אנשים קמו באמצע ההקרנה, רבותיי, עזבו את הסרט, לא יכלו לשאת את הסרט הזה ויצאו החוצה. קדימה, בואו נקשיב למוזיקה.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about
She's not there. איזה בחירה משובחת לסרט כזה, חבל על הזמן.
How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. Well, no one told me about her. What could I do? Well, no one told me about her, though they all knew. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there. Well, let me tell you about the way she looked, the way she acted, the color of her hair. Her voice was soft and cool, her eyes were clear and bright, but she's not there.
הסרט לברוח, אחד הסרטים התיעודים היפים של השנים האחרונות. הסרט הזה הוא מציג את סיפורו של פליט מאפגניסטן. הוא מתאר בעצם באמצעות אנימציה מאוד מרשימה את סיפורו של עמילוב, שנמלט בילדותו מאפגניסטן לאחר הפלישה הסובייטית, ועבר מסע של תלאות רבות עד שהוא הגיע לדנמרק. סרט רגיש יוצא דופן עם אנימציה כל כך יפה ומרגש. סרט הוקרן לראשונה בפסטיבל סנדנס האחרון, ובואו נקשיב לו.
Hvad betyder ordet hjem for dig?
Hjem er noget, som er trygt.
Kaboul, les attaques des Moudjahidines repris.
Har du nogensinde fortalt din livshistorie før?
Nej. Vi skal ud. Det er nu.
Du namitoni inja boshi.
Lidt dårligt samvittighed, at min bror han bliver tilbage. Vi flygtede med menneskesmuglerne. Det værste mennesker i mit liv.
Har du fortalt Kasper nogle af de her historier overhovedet?
Nej.
סרט כל כך רגיש, ערוך יפה, תיעוד משובח. במסגרת הסרטים שעומדים לעלות השבוע, המתיקות שבבטן, לכודים תחת אש, עד המוות, עד המוות. בוא נשמע את הטריילר.
I don't know, one surprise isn't gonna fix everything.
I love you with all of my heart. Till death do us part.
כן, אמה נשואה כבר עשור למרק, אך מערכת היחסים ביניהם אחורה ותאונה. בדיוק בשל כך אמה מופתעת שמרק תכנן עבורם נופש, וכל מה שקורה שם מחר בקולנוע. הסרט הבא, המתיקות שבבטן, הוא מספר על נקודת מבט יוצאת דופן של לילי שבורחת מאתיופיה לאנגליה לאחר שהתייתמה מהוריה וכל מה שהיא עוברת, כולל ההשתלבות שלה בקהילת המהגרים בלונדון, עם המצוקות, עם הלבטים. הסרט הזה יוצא מחר לקולנוע. טוב, שאנג צי ואגדת 10 הטבעות, שאנג נאלץ להתעמת עם עברו, והוא חשב שהשאיר מאחוריו את העבר שלו, אבל הוא בעצם נמשך לרשת של ארגון 10 הטבעות המסתורי. הסרט עשוי טוב עד האמצע לפי דעתי, תחושה של ארוך מדי, ארוך עד מאוד. בשלב מסוים, די מעייף, הבנו את העניין, 4 כוכבים. אז אני רוצה, גבירותיי ורבותיי, מאזינות ומאזינים, להשמיע לכם את ההקלטה בשידור מיוחד.
ברוכים הבאים לפסטיבל הקולנוע ירושלים, ותודה שהצטרפתם אלינו לאירוע הפתיחה של המחווה לסרטי קאנון, בשיתוף קוונטין טרנטינו. אני מבקשת להודות מכל הלב לדניאלה טרנטינו. תודה דניאלה על השותפות ועל המאמצים הרבים שלך שאפשרו את קיום האירוע הזה שהוא בפירוש אירוע היסטורי. אני שמחה ורוצה להודות לאנשים יקרים שמכבדים אותנו בנוכחותם הערב הזה. משפחת גלובוס, משפחת גולן. הערב אנחנו מקיימים במסגרת המחווה את פאנל הפתיחה, מפגש פסגה בהשתתפות הבמאי האגדי קוונטין טרנטינו, המפיק יורם גלובוס, שהיה בעלים של חברת קאנון, והילה מדליה, במאית והמפיקה הישראלית, יוצרת הסרט גוגו בויז, שהוקרן בפסטיבל הקולנוע ירושלים בבחורה בשנת 2014. שם גם נפגשו בפעם האחרונה יורם גלובוס ומנחם גולן, אירוע שהתקיים ממש מספר שבועות לפני שמנחם גולן הלך לעולמו. במאי הקולנוע, נבות פפושדו.
We have a lot to talk about and just enough time, so I would like to invite Ila to the stage. And I believe Yoram is going to join us on the big screen. And the guy who needs no introduction, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. Oh.
Hello, Yoram.
Hi, Yoram.
Shalom.
Shalom. Hi. How about we start with you? I mean, tell us, what is the secret ingredient of Caanon movies? Why are we sitting here so long after seeing them, falling in love with them? What kept them so vivid in our lives, and hearts and minds.
Yeah.
What's so special about the Caanon movies?
I think that Caanon was a unique company and still exists, and I want to thank Quentin for hosting this evening. I met Quentin when he came to Israel to the premiere of the Glorious Bastard. And the president of Universal asked me to take good care of him. He's very important for Universal. I said, why should he? You know, I admire his pictures. Each picture that he did is a masterpiece. We took him to a dinner the first evening, actors, directors, between the meals. I stood up and I said, thank you, Quentin, for coming to Israel. We respect you, we admire you. And Quentin, stop, shout, stop. He went on his chair, and with his hand, he said, I should thank you, not you should thank me. And he started to tell the story. When he was a student, he used to work in a video company. And he knew every picture Caanon made by heart. He remembered all the titles better than me. And I admired it for that. Thank you, Quentin.
My pleasure.
So Quentin, what was it that made you fall in love with the Caanon movies?
Well, especially back then in the 80s, I was just really enamored with that company. I was enamored with the idea. And I wasn't by myself. I had a couple of friends that worked at the video store with me, Roger Avery too, who was one of the co-writers on Pulp Fiction. We were both loved the Caanon films and just loved Mנחem and Yoram, just thought they were really cool. And the thing about it was the American press used to make fun of them, and the trade papers, and even though they were spending a tremendous amount of money on the trade papers, Variety never made as much money as they did during the days of Caanon. But the Hollywood community used to make fun of them, not take them seriously, and frankly, in an anti-Semitic way. There was this, who the fuck do these Israeli jokers think they are? There really was that attitude about it, and but that's not what me and Roger saw. Was two guys trying to take on the industry, trying to take on Hollywood and make the movies that they wanted to make. Now, on one hand, they wanted respectability, and they wanted to give artists, different respected filmmakers, a chance to make some films that the rest of the studios had kind of turned their back on, or to give them the kind of situation that it would have been harder at that time in the 80s for them to experience at Orion or experience at Warner Brothers or Paramount or something. They were kind of giving them that. But at the same time, their company was built on exploitation movies, and we loved exploitation movies. And we loved the Caanon exploitation movies especially. And it just seemed like they had a sense about them that Hollywood just seemed like a completely, with the possible exception of Roger Corman running his company. And by the way, by the 80s, it wasn't the same, because it wasn't New World Pictures anymore. It was New Horizon. They were going straight to video, so it really wasn't the same. But Hollywood seemed a very closed-off place, like there was an industry guarded by a bank vault door. And we didn't know how we were going to get into it. But we always thought that if by some way we could meet Yoram or meet Mנחem, and we had an interesting thing, and maybe we could talk an actor they could be possibly interested in, that maybe they might give us a chance. There was Lily was the idea, like, oh, God, the only people out there who would ever give us a chance to make a movie is Caanon Pictures.
Yeah, they had something free about the way they work. They loved the script. They could, right, Yoram? Yeah. You could close them.
I think, and Quentin knows it, I think that first of all, I'm missing very much Mנחem, and sure, he sees us from heaven and he smiles. I think that we gave freedom to filmmakers, which Hollywood until then didn't give freedom to the filmmakers. And I think this is the most important point that we brought to Hollywood.
Yeah,
we recognize also the beginning of the video, to be one of the first, and that's why we signed Chuck Norris for 7 years exclusively, Charles Bronson, discovered Van Damme, Michael Dudikoff, etc., you know. And our pictures, you know, some of them did good, some mediocre on theatrical release, but on video, we were a smash hit. Canon Pictures sold every picture, 100, 200, 300, 400,000 video cassettes, every movie. Quentin helped us.
Well, you know, but it was a situation where they wanted to work with respected filmmakers. So they go to Franco Zeffirelli and they go, well, what would you like to do? And then he told them an opera that he would like to do as a film, and so they did it. Warner Brothers is not going to do that. Paramount, despite how much money he made for them with Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon and Romeo and Juliet, they're not going to do that. But Canon's going to do it.
And the process was quick also.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the same thing with John Cassavetes. John Cassavetes did love streams for them, and John Cassavetes said that I wish Canon ran the entire industry. I think these guys are fantastic. And then with John Frankenheimer with 52 Pickup, they made up until Jackie Brown. They made the best Elmore Leonard adaptation ever done. All the Elmore Leonard fans were waiting for a good Elmore Leonard movie, one of his crime films, and it never happened. 52 Pickup was the first one. But then also you have somebody like J. Lee Thompson. They did one movie after another with Canon. There's the Charles Bronson movies. There's The Ambassador, which we're going to show tomorrow in a matinee screening, which I can't wait to watch in Jerusalem itself. That is going to be exciting. But the thing about it is, J. Lee Thompson, he was an old pro, been around for a long time. He was an old man by that time. During that time, you always wondered, I wish somebody had, I wish people had hired Sam Fuller back in the 80s to do this. You think about all these cool old directors that were still alive, but they couldn't get work. Well, in the case of J. Lee Thompson, Canon did hire him. Canon did finance his movies. He was an older man, and he made eight or nine movies for Canon. You did a Charles Bronson movie a week. Not a week, but you did like 2 Charles Bronson movies a year. And his last movie, which we're going to show tomorrow night, is I think is one of my favorite last movies of all time, Conjette, with Charles Bronson. That's a terrific film. But then those are the established filmmakers. Then they had their in-house filmmakers of Israeli filmmakers, Boaz Davidson, Sam Furstenberg, my favorite, Gideon Amir, Dan Woolman. All right, and if you were to ask me what my 3 favorite Canon movies are, number 1 would be Runaway Train, which we're going to see. Number 2 would be 52 Pickup. Number 3 would be Ninja 3: The Domination. I saw Ninja 3: The Domination at the movie theaters 6 times. The first time I paid a ticket to see that, and I saw that crazy opening fight scene that goes on for 15 minutes, I was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And I told all my friends, and as soon as it came out on video, we watched it a zillion times. It's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
The thing is, they were able to do things that no other studio would willing to take chances on. Also in volume, they didn't stop. Hila, would you like to? We were just talking about it.
Yeah, we're just talking about, I'm going to get it right now. Yeah. In 84, they had 50 films at Cannes in the market, and some were also at the actual festival, which is unheard of. I mean, who is making 50 films a year?
You at that time, half the reason to buy the Variety and the Hollywood Reporter Cannes issue was to get that book that came in the middle of it, which was like every poster for all the Canon films they have coming, the films that they have at the festival, and the films that they're going to make, some which they never even made, including Spider-Man.
Because they will start with actually bringing the cast and taking the photo. So that was like the pitch, and then they'll put it in this catalog.
And then when you ever see footage from the mid '80s of Cannes, it's like in front of the Carlton. It's always Canon movies up there, right on the Carlton terrace.
Until at some point it became the Canon Film Festival, right?
Exactly.
The presence of Yoram and Mנחם was synonymous to Cannes.
Sure.
We can talk about it later, but the way they produced or financed movies back then, which was pioneering, because no one did it before them, is actually the way they finance and produce indie movies today.
Yeah, I mean, they were the first one to do the pre-sale. Like, they would make a poster, finance it, and then make the movie. And now, obviously, a lot of us are doing it.
Yeah, that was it. They have the elements. They make the poster, and then they go and they'd sell the South African rights, and then they'd go and sell. Then they sell the Filipino rights, and then they'd sell the German rights, and then they'd had enough to make the film. And sometimes they may even make profit by the time that they got through selling.
Which is the way the indie industry works today. Pre-sales. That's
how all the independent companies do it.
I will tell a story that I'm sure Quentin will like. First of all, in 84, 85, we did 45 movies. And the last movie of the 45 was Barfly. With Faye Dunaway, Mickey Roa. And I didn't want to do it anymore because I said we have to stop. We have to collect the money from the distributors and then continue. So one weekend, Bardesh Schrader, Faye Dunaway and Mickey Roa coming to my home in Hancock Park. And you must do the movie. And Bardet took a knife and he said, if you don't approve me to make the movie, I will cut my finger. Mנחem sent it to me to convince me to do the movie. And of course we did the movie, and the movie was a huge success, artistically and theatrically. Very big success it was.
I think it's safe to say, and back to your career, Quentin, that you had the influence as a clerk at the video store, but I think in a bigger way, I'd say that without the model that Yoram and Mנחem built in Caanon, Miramax might not have been the same, or maybe there's a connection there.
Those guys went more the art film indie way, where it was, one of the things about the Caanon movies is they played everywhere. And I actually even remember a friend of mine living in Hawaii, and he says, like, almost all the theaters in Hawaii are Caanon theaters. The Caanon movies play everywhere. But the Miramax kind of started cornering the market on the art film theater chains and showing and making hits out of art films. And so specializing in New York and LA, and then opening it up to college towns, and then doing that, and then showing that they could do that better than Hollywood could, than the studios could. And then little by little, and then when they sold themselves to Disney, then they had a little bit more money to play with, and they could actually start acting like a studio. But it was the same thing, though, especially as far as selling the rights. For a long, long time, that was always how Miramax did it. Is they went to Cannes, they went to MeFed, and they sold the rights to the things in advance.
There's something about Caanon that I think met all of us at different stages and different ages, maybe, but it's something that stayed with you. I think it's the fun element. It's always a fun movie. Yes, there are some art house movies in the library that are maybe less fun, but there's something so vital about it. Yoram, if you might say, what are the movies that you enjoyed doing the most?
My favorite movie that we did in Caanon, of course, is Runaway Train, like Quentin said before. It's me too, but I would like to tell a story about our first movie when we acquired Caanon. Mנחem directed movie The Apple. It's a rock musical, futuristic rock musical. It was written by Kobi Recht, all the music. And we were invited to Montreal Festival, and we are coming for the opening set. And after 10 minutes, the audience boo and throw the discs that we gave them on the screen. Mנחem said, "Yoram, I'm going to the men's room for a few minutes." He doesn't come. After 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I take the people that were with me to look for him. We found him on the balcony, top floor in the hotel. He wanted to commit suicide because he took it so hard. And I said, "Mנחem, tomorrow is another movie. Forget it." But 10 years ago, Cinematheque in New York hosted us, they gave us a tribute of 2 weeks of Canon movies. Mנחem and me, we came there and we sat on panels, and after Runaway Train, we come to the lobby and we say full of young students, people. I asked the manager of the Cinematheque, what are they waiting for? He said, you don't know. The Apple is playing that. He said, you don't understand. The Apple became a cult movie. The auditorium was sold out. People with candles, with rides, and it was absolutely amazing. So you never know.
In relate to what you said, critics used to really kill them. And Mנחem, when I made the Go-Go Boys, he always said for him, what matters is the audience. And the audience loved them. So he said, I don't care about the critics. It's the God is the audience. And I think that's related to also what you said. The movies are fun and the audience love it.
Well, one of the things that in particular, look, especially back in the 80s where I want to be a young filmmaker, I went to see all the exploitation movies that came out. And start even from a younger point in time, I went to see all the exploitation movies because I'm looking for the next cool director. I'm looking for somebody who's going to make some cool horror film or whatever, and then break out. And then I kind of followed their career, and I did that a lot. So like I saw Piranha when it first came out, and that was Joe Dante's first movie, and then you watch his career. I saw A Rabbit by David Cronenberg, and then you kind of watch his career, and that was exciting. To me, the director in the 80s that I discovered on my own from watching Ninja 3: The Domination, all right, was Sam Furstenberg. And I thought, wow, this guy's fantastic. So I went out and I think I had seen Revenge of the Ninja, but I went out I watched it again now, taking him into account, and I really liked it. Then I running out to see American Ninja like the day it opened because I was a Sam Furstenberg fan, and then I saw Electric Boogaloo, and I was just all this one man fan club of Sam Furstenberg, and but I made a bunch of friends. We had a small little group, all right, but I was the leader of the group for sure when it comes to the Sam Furstenberg Club. But then they came out with the next Michael Dudikoff movie, which was Avenging Force. And Avenging Force came out, and the thing about it was, back then, the newspaper critics there was this like institutional indifference to even studio genre films. Forget about exploitation movies. They just were. It seemed like they weren't happy people. They didn't like their life. They definitely didn't like their jobs, and they took it out. And they took it out on the movies. But one of the people that actually stood like by himself against that was the second string critic at the Los Angeles Times, Kevin Thomas. And Kevin Thomas almost was like a sports agent who would like see an athlete in high school, all right, when he would watch an exploitation movie and he liked the director or he liked the actor, and he would write a little notice about them and then watch them move up from high school to the farm league, and then eventually go to the major leagues, and he promoted them. And so boom, the day that Avenging Force opens, Kevin Thomas writes this review in the Los Angeles Times, and he's like, just in case all you who haven't been paying attention, Sam Furstenberg has made a career making these little rave-up movies for Caanon, and all I have to say is roll over, John Carpenter, tell Walter Hill the news. There's a new guy in town, and his name is Sam Furstenberg. And I was like, yes, Kevin, you're right. Yes, it's Sam Furstenberg. Way to go.
It's amazing. I think we are 40 years away almost. Let's say between 30 and 40 years. It was the 80s, and I think we can go into a discussion about how prude Hollywood was in the 80s, but I don't think we have the time. But I noticed something that happened since the Jerusalem Film Festival announced this panel with you, and the 8 movies you curated and chose. A discussion came on the social medias, people, wait a minute, why didn't they choose that movie to put in? That's my favorite movie. And all of a sudden the discussion came back on how much people, like the story you said about the Apple, everyone got their own kind of Apple Canon special movie that they, cherish. So we have those 8 movies, but if you're gonna send people home looking for other kind of favorites, what would be your favorites?
Well, I would say, okay, so not the ones we're showing here. One of the things that, look, we were going to actually, before Corona happened, we were going to do this at the festival, and it was going to be 12 or 13 movies, and we had to scale it back after everything that happened. But one of the reasons that I'm very happy with everything that we chose here. I wish 52 Pickup could have been here. But one of the reasons that we chose them because we wanted to show as much as we could on film. And so some of these film prints are 35 millimeter film prints are mine. Some of them, the Jerusalem Film Festival were able to secure. Those ones have Hebrew subtitles. Mine don't. You're just gonna have to hang. But you're right. They actually did a whole draft of different Canon movies and on a podcast, and then everybody was right. Whoa, you got to say this, you got to say that, and everyone was mad at everybody else for the ones that weren't on there. Okay, but if you're going to do your own little curate your own little festival, okay, I would definitely start with as far as the action ones, I would go with the Sam Furstenberg ones, starting from Revenge of the Ninja to Avenging Force. I don't care for American Ninja 2. All right, from to Avenging Force. You guys are more than aware of Popsicle Lemon, all right? But there's the American remake of Popsicle Lemon, directed by Boaz Davis and the same director, called The Last American Virgin, which is one of the best films of that type of bunch of kids trying to get laid kind of movies, with one of the most devastating endings of the 80s. It's just, I remember like my jaw hitting the floor when that ending happened and the credits start rolling up. And then the soundtrack is just a perfect 80s soundtrack. That's wonderful. I'm a big fan of the Chuck Norris ones, especially though, Invasion USA. I like Delta Force. I like Over the Top. But I've got to say the Tobe Hooper ones, especially Life Force. Life Force is a wacky, crazy fucking masterpiece. And but if you watch it if you stream it or watch it on Blu-ray, man, you guys ain't seen it. Because to see that in a theater the way I did at the Pickwood in Hollywood, to see that at the Pickwood in 6-track stereo sound with that Henry Mancini score, wow.
All right.
Anyway, I want to thank Daniela, Quentin, very, very much. David, and all the audience who came to give us respect. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Eli, and thank you, Quentin.
Thank you.
I'm going to say my favorite line that Eric Roberts says in the movie, so when it comes, you'll know it's my favorite line, is when he's talking to the prison guard and he points at the Playboy and goes, man, that Hugh Hefner, he sure knows what the hell's going on, don't he?
אנחנו נשתמע לאחר ראש השנה. אני מאחלת לכם שתהיה לכם שנה טובה, שנה בריאה, שבה תוכלו להגשים את כל מה שאתם רק רוצים להגשים, ושיהיה לכם רק דברים טובים. ויאללה, בואו נקנח במשהו לנשמה.
הצבוע קבל עינה עמך סגבנו.
פעמיים קפה, תוכניתה של רוני שוורץ עמילוב. קולנוע, תרבות, אקטואליה. הקפה עלינו, לא תגיעו?